everybody, this is Maria Clark at Sweet Willow Designs and welcome to my studio. Today we're going to do a fairly simple project to make these really cute bird earrings with a little bit of a dangle. And you can see here that I have them really in two sizes, this larger size and then this little smaller petite size. And that's just a difference in the amount of clay that we're going to use. So it's pretty straightforward. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and let's get started. Okay, back in the studio and thanks for joining me. So these are the materials and tools that we're going to be using. Of course, we've got some clay, and this is a peacock, a Primo peacock, and it's rolled out to the #1 setting, or the thickest setting on my pasta machine. And then I've got a little bit of fuchsia clay, which is rolled out to the #4 setting on my pasta machine. And then we've got some findings and some tools that we need. I've got 2 eye pins. I've got 2 ear wires. I've got 2 bead caps, and those are optional. You don't really need the bead caps. And I've got 2 dangles, and that's to make this particular style of earring. And of course, some of these things are optional. You don't need a bead cap, and you don't need to use a dangle if you don't want to. If you decide you don't want to use those things, then you just use a regular eye pin. And then I've got a 1-inch circle cutter and a 1/2 inch teardrop cutter. I've got a ball stylus, but of course you could use anything that would make a little indent for the eyes. I've got my 000 or 4 triple, I guess it's a 000 knitting needle, and this I use for lots of different things in the studio, but we're going to use this to make the bead hole and also to do a little bit of texturing. And then I've got a series of jewelry pliers. I've got a chain nose, round nose, and a pair of cutters. So those are all the materials that and tools that we're going to be using for this project. So we'll come back in just a moment and we'll form the bead. Hi everybody, and welcome back, and we're ready to form the bead. So I have my blue clay, which is going to form the body of the bird, and I'm going to go ahead and cut out 2 1-inch circles. And I like to use the cutter because it gives me consistency between the different pieces. So I know that I'm getting the same size, and I can make them over and over. So I've got 2 of the 1-inch circles, and then I have for each one I'll use 2 of the fuchsia teardrops to make the wings, and I'll go ahead and set those aside. I'll take the 2 pieces of clay, the 2 circle cutouts, and I'll use 2 for each bead, and I'll just actually form this into a round bead. Make sure I get that nice and round. And then it's just a matter of starting to form the bead. So I'm just starting off with a round shape, and I'm going to take one end and I'm going to start to pinch it into the tail. Just take a little bit of clay and start pinching and pulling it until you start to form the tail. I'm not worrying about fingerprints or anything like that because this is a little bit of a rustic bead. Okay, and then opposite the tail, I'm going to start to pinch out the beak. And I'll just pinch that until I get a shape that I like. And you can kind of refine this. I kind of roll it sometimes to get a little bit of better shape. Okay, and there you have your bead. It's really pretty simple. Then I'm going to take each of the wings that I cut, and this is the little 3/4 inch teardrop shape, and I'm going to place them right on either side. And then I like to kind of roll them to sort of bevel the edge a little bit. Okay. And then just refine that tail again. Good. I'll take my ball stylus and I'm going to put an eye on either side of the beak. Just a little depression. And you can use whatever tool you have to make those eyes. Could use a bamboo skewer or something like that. Then I'm going to take my knitting needle again, and I'm going to put just some little impressions on the wings, just so that it kind of looks more feather-like. And I got to tell you, that's all there is to make this cute little bird bead. The last thing we'll do before we put it into the oven is we're actually going to put a hole. And you can do this after if you want to drill it, but I actually prefer to put it in after. You're going to find the center of the bead. And I would let this sit, I think, a little bit before I did it, but for purposes of this demonstration, I'll go ahead and do it right away. And just take the knitting needle and kind of twist it so that I'm not distorting the bead up to the other point where my finger rests until it just pops through. And then I'll take this and turn it around and go the other way. There. Okay. And there I have the bird bead. I'll go ahead and drop this into my tray of cornstarch so that I don't keep the shape and don't get a distortion on the shape. And cure it for 1 hour at the manufacturer's recommended instructions. And when we come back after curing, I'll show you the last steps. Okay, our bead is out of the oven and it's cured. What I'd like to do is do a little bit of highlighting, and you can see on this original one, I actually have quite a lot of highlighting, and I probably wouldn't do quite as much, but I like that I'm able to see the little feathers in the wings and the eyes a bit better. They're a little bit highlighted, so there's, they're a little bit easier to see, and there's a little bit more dimension. So I'm going to take this bead that we've just cured, and I've got a little bit of cappuccino, actually it's rich espresso metallic paint. You could use any color that you like. And I'm just going to pick up a little bit, and I'm going to go around those eyes and around the outside here of the wing. I'm going to give a little, make sure I've got quite a bit in the little feathers here. And then I'll take a damp paper towel, and you don't want to get this really wet, but you want to have a little bit damp. And I'm just going to take off the excess. And that gives a nice highlight to some of the details that we have in the bird. And then we'll do, of course, the same thing on the other side. And take that paper towel and just wipe off the excess. Good. Okay. We'll set that aside to dry and give that just a minute to dry, and then we'll come back and we'll do the rest of the assembly. Hi everybody, and welcome back to my studio. The bird bead is dry, so we're going to go ahead and do the assembly now. I have an eye pin. And of course I'm using the eye pin because I'm going to put this dangle on it. But if you didn't want to put a dangle and you just wanted to go ahead and use a regular head pin, that would be fine too. I have a little bead cap here that I'm going to thread on the eye pin. And it's just a finishing touch that I like. And then we'll thread it through the bead. And you can see how that looks on the end. Now I'm going to go ahead and make my top loop so that I can attach the ear wire. And I've been using these one-step looping pliers. I'm fairly new at using them. I like them so far, so I'm going to go ahead and use them for this particular demonstration. And at some later date, I'll do a separate demonstration on these pliers. And then, of course, you could always make your loop the traditional way with a pair of needle nose pliers. So you just simply thread the eye pin through. And I'll turn this bead just a little bit to make sure that it's all the way up, and make sure that your pin is all the way through the looping plier, and then it's just a matter of squeezing. It cuts the wire and forms the loop. and then you just kind of make sure that you straighten the end. Now you'll notice that it didn't close entirely, and for my purposes that's okay, because I'm actually going to put the ear wire on. So I'll take the ear wire, and then I will take my needle nose pliers, and I'll just close up that loop. That. Okay, and then I'll come over to the other side, and I will open up the eye pin loop, and I will thread the dangle. And then I will simply close that up. And there you have it. There you have, I think, a cute earring, cute pair of earrings for gifts or for your own use. I think this is really a fun, easy project. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you make many pairs of earrings. So thanks for joining me in my studio. Take care.